Hi guys, it's Sam of Zastava and Yugo Cars here. Today I wanted to do a quick video on the history of my Yugo and how it came into my ownership. But first I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the car. So roughly a few days after I filmed the last video, I noticed quite a strong petrol smell coming out of the car, even more so than usual. So I had a look in the engine bay, and the fuel pump appears to be leaking a bit, unfortunately. Don't know if you guys can see properly, but right around the top of the pump it's sort of leaking a bit, and right around the main pump gasket. So I've got it booked in at my local mechanic who've serviced this car for years, and that's going to hopefully be fixed in about 4 or so days. But I'm not driving the car as much as I usually would because of this issue, but hopefully it'll get fixed soon and I'll be back on the road, because I like to daily drive this for a bit because it's been a while. But even with that issue, it actually still seems to drive somewhat okay and not really have any issues, apart from that gassy smell. I've just shut the vents for now. But yeah, so about this car, it was sold brand new in my town, about a 10-minute drive from my house. Gosh, when was it first registered? 10th of January 1990 was its first registration. It's a late 1989 model. There's an elderly bloke over there giving me a funny look. Yeah, so basically it got bought brand new by an older lady who had religiously had the car serviced, and she owned it right up till about mid-2013. She had basically decided to stop driving, and the car had also got into quite the state. As I'd mentioned in my last video, it started developing rust in numerous places, and it just needed a bit of general work, and it was getting quite tired. So she had decided to sell it to her gardener, who bought it for quite an okay price, because its warrant of fitness had just run out and it needed a bit of work. But there's definitely plenty of potential there. But he owned the car for about a year, and in his ownership it looked like he had taken it for a warrant of fitness inspection, and he had basically just found that the car needed far too much work, and it was out of his ability. So he had put it on Trade Me, and that's when I had come across it. So yeah, that was quite interesting. It had actually closed. I hadn't actually purchased it, and it closed. And I asked him to relist the auction, and me and my mum went and had a look at the car. It was obvious that it needed work, but it was a very rare vehicle. As I say, it's the only Yugo 55 on the road in the whole of New Zealand now. So yeah, it's really one of a kind. But yeah, so we went round, had a look, and we had a discussion, and Mum was actually the one who purchased the vehicle for me, because I was only, gosh, I would have only actually been 13 years old at the time, because this was in late July of 2014, so we're actually coming up on 6 years of ownership, which is pretty cool. No regrets with this car really, but yeah, she had purchased it for me as a restoration project, and I just kind of said to her, look, I don't think I'm going to see another one of these come up for sale in quite some time. And it also helped that it was a fairly decent price. The fact it needed work, we sort of used that as a bit of a bargaining tactic. But it's just such a rare car here in New Zealand. Like, even the larders are more common. About 7,000 of those were imported, compared to the 3,800 of these that were imported. Sorry, not 3,800, 380. So yeah, I never quite caught on to why more of these weren't imported. I think part of it was the fact that Fiats were already so popular over here. We had most of the models Europe did: the Uno, the Tipo, 125, 126, 127, 128, all those cars. The Uno was very popular over here as well, I think. So, but yeah, these cars are actually sold brand new out of Toyota dealerships. They were distributed to Toyota dealerships all over the country, and the bloke who owned my local Toyota dealership where this car was sold brand new, he was actually the main person behind Yugo's coming over here and been imported. He actually arranged most of the distribution and the importation of these vehicles, so also thought that was pretty cool. So quite a majority of those 380 vehicles would have been sold out of his dealerships. So yeah, it's a bit of background on the car. So yeah, Mum had helped fund it, a lot of the work on the car, and she had purchased it as an early birthday present for me in July of 2014. And yeah, basically from then on in it was just a matter of tidying the car up. The paint was quite flat, quite oxidized, as often a lot of red cars do. You can sort of see in here on the door panel, this is the original sort of red. Yet to find a colour code on it actually. I've heard UK and US market cars used to have a sticker on the tailgate, but mine doesn't, unfortunately. But yeah, polishing the paint, repainting areas, rust removal, all that kind of stuff. The interior was always in very good shape, so cleaning the interior, painting door cards, that kind of stuff. Sorry, excuse the car, it's a bit dirty at the moment, but as I say, it's been sitting due to that fuel pump fault, but that'll be sorted very soon. But yeah, unfortunately the previous owner of the car, who had owned it for a year, he had let the registration lapse on the car. So basically in New Zealand, if the registration isn't renewed for a year or longer, the car automatically becomes deregistered, and that is when you need to do a compliance test, which is basically treating the car like it's a brand new import into the country. It's quite a rigorous and in-depth test. So that's basically what this car went through in March of 2018. After pretty much everything had been gone through on the car, it had had quite extensive mechanical work, and for the most part it was pretty much restored at this stage. So that's when we took it to our local testing station. We had it towed there, I guess, because it's kind of illegal to drive it at that stage, but we had it towed there, and that was about 40 minutes away, and it was about 3 or so days they had the car for, and it actually went through fairly okay. The only issue they came upon was the rear brake cylinders were both leaking, so they were replaced by the mechanic that was around the corner from them. And then it pretty much went straight through, and it became road legal for the first time. Gosh, how long would it have been? Would have been about 5 to 6 years since it had last been road legal, so that was very cool. And the car was then put back on the road essentially, and yeah, here we are now. So we're coming up on about 2.5 years since that was done, and I've now covered 77,243 kilometres, so that was 69,000 when I got the car. So yeah, it's about a good 8,000 k's, and for the most part it's been pretty trouble free. Yeah, it's really not a bad car. It has its old niggles and problems, because I mean it is a Yugo, but it's really not too bad. And as I say, I really miss driving the car, so it'd be nice to get it all fixed up again. And yeah, so I'll give you guys an update once I get it back from the mechanic. That'll be in about 4 days from now. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. I hope that gives a bit of an insight as to how I got this car and the history of this car. And this car basically started my passion for Yugos and this channel. So hope you guys have a great day, and thanks so much for watching.